Alright, owls, we are back with our second video on the topic of maps. So what we're going to learn about today are some of the more specific parts of a map. So in our last video we learned about what the United States map looks like, what it looked like when it first was drawn by Abel Buell. We learned about the states that are located on our map. Today we're going to learn more about the parts of a map. And these could be things that are seen on a map of America. They could be seen on a map of a state park that you might go to visit. They might be seen on a map of a mall or something like that. It could be any sort of map might have these same little parts to it. And once you learn what these parts mean, you'll be able to read any sort of map. So the first part of a map that we're going to learn about is called the title. And if you think about when we read books, if I were to ask you, what is the title of the book? You would say, oh, it means the name of the book. It's what the book is called. It would say it on the cover, and that lets you know what's going to be inside. So if we were reading a book called The Heath Hawk, and it said that Heath Hawk is the title, you might know that once you look inside, that's what we're going to learn about. So if a map has a title, it's usually located on the very top of the map or on the very bottom. And if it said Map of the United States of America, you would know that that's what you're looking at. That's the title. So our country's title probably would say Map of the United States of America. And the first one that Abel Buell drew, if you remember, was called The New and Correct Map of the United States of North America. So his was very, very specific. So you would know exactly what you're looking at by finding the title on the map. Another part of the map that is maybe the most important part of the map, because if you're trying to read a map to navigate and figure out where you're going, you need to have this, is called the compass rose. And the compass rose is the part of the map that shows you which direction is north, which direction is east, west, and south. So if you're looking at the map but you don't know which direction is up and which one's down and which one's right and which one's left, you're not going to be able to really find where you're going on the map. So the compass rose is a little thing that usually has arrows pointing in different directions that show you what's north, east, south, and west. It usually looks like this. Let me show you here. This is what a compass rose would look like. So we talked about in the last video about how Massachusetts is located in the northeast. And when you look at a compass rose on a map, you can see that if you start in the middle of the map, right? And you start right in the middle, and you go north, and then you go over east, that's where you would find Massachusetts on the map. So we use the compass rose to learn how to travel up to north, which has the N for north, and then all the way over to east, which has an E for east. And so you can find your direction by using the compass rose on a map. If you wanted to look in the opposite direction on a map and say you want to go to the southwest, you could follow down to the south and then over to the west. And if you were looking at a map of America, you would find southwestern states like Arizona or New Mexico. Sometimes a map will have another little section called a key. And there aren't always keys on a map, but the key on a map is a little box usually that will have a couple symbols, and it helps to show you what the different colors on the map mean, and sometimes it'll tell you what a different symbol on the map means. So I drew for an example. If you were looking at maybe a map of the reservoir or maybe a woodsy map, it might show that a green tree would represent like a forest. So you might maybe want to make your own map. You could do a little green tree would be for the forest, a little blue, some waves could be the river. I did like sort of a purple trail, and then yellow could be like cabins, maybe if you were in the woods. And this part on a map, if you ever see something like that, that's what would be called the key. And that would help you know what different parts of the map mean what things. The last piece that we're going to learn about is right above it. So it looks a little tricky. It has some numbers on there. That is called the scale. And a scale on a map is something that will show us when you look at your map. If you go like this with your fingers and you're trying to figure out how big each section is, if say the state of Massachusetts on your map was about this big, you could use a ruler, and the scale would tell you that 1 inch on the ruler equals like 100 miles in real life. So if you were trying to figure out how big the entire country was, you could take out your ruler and find the map, and if you look at the scale, it might say 1 inch on your ruler, so this much space on your ruler is equal to 100,000 miles, and then you could measure it all out, and you'd be able to find out how big the things on the map would be in real life. So a scale is very important, because if you are trying to figure out how much space is around you, or how far away you are from something else, or maybe how far away your state is from like Florida all the way down in the south, you can use the scale and you can use a ruler to figure out how far away that actually is in real life. Alright, my friends, that is all the map making information that I have for you guys. Something that I am going to add into the email for your parents is a blank map that has a blank key, and it's going to have a blank scale, and it'll have a compass rose, the northeast, southwest on it, and a blank title. And you can either try to make a map of some place that you've been, or maybe you could make a map of a made-up place that you would like to go to, or a made-up place that you've created on your own. I hope everyone's doing well and you guys are keeping busy, and I will talk to you soon.